All right. The next one over, that is how to create a bit.ly, because you're going to need a bit.ly, and we'll talk about that in just a second. How much AI I can use. If you want to print this for your people in color, if your principals are okay with that, then definitely do that. I was hoping we would be able to print a poster for all of the teachers, but it was going to be about $10,000, and they're like, well, they can just do their own. So I'm like, okay. This is just an AI best practice notes, and then you're going to see two presentations over here. And one is, you guys see the little squiggle? That reminds me, that's the one that we're going to be using. The power user, that one's for you with all the information. And then this Brisk training for spring, that's the one you're going to make a copy of and share with teachers. Okay, so I'm going to start with our power user one, and we're going to look at that. If you want to go to that with me, you're more than welcome to. Oh, wait, no, I did the wrong one. Here we go. So you can see 4 teachers, and then this one is power users. So this one is for you. And if you see any kind of like yellow sticky note right here, those are just extra notes for you. Okay. And I had our first training last Tuesday. And in that conversation, we talked about letting your participants do a Brisk Boost activity as a student. So you can do this at the very beginning or around slide 40 when you start talking about Brisk Boost. You can decide however you want to do it. If you want it right when they come in, if you want to take 5 to 10 minutes and you're going to be sharing this the slide presentation with them anyway, they can click on any one of these. It's going to let them view it as a teacher unless you have them open it in incognito mode, but that might confuse people. So that's okay. And you guys can go through and click on some of those just so they can see what it looks like to have a conversation with the chatbot, because some of them haven't seen it or they haven't used it. So that's going to give them a chance to do that. Like I said, it's up to you whether you want to do it at the beginning or do it in the middle when we start talking about Brisk Boost. Any questions on that part? Everybody good? This is just for you guys. What I would suggest is for you to create like a practice folder where you have like 1 or 2 writing samples, even of your own or your student samples, a rubric, a copy, even like a Google Doc and you copy and paste a couple of your standards. That way, when you're demonstrating things, you'll have a folder to go to and you can just copy and paste it really fast. Maybe a PDF of some type of worksheet, and let's say any other material where you might need an assistant. You can have your participants do this too, but you don't have to. And then you're going to have a meet the trainer page. So you're going to create, you're going to put your name after you make your copy of the other one. You're going to, your name, what you do, what school you're at, and all that kind of stuff. Just a little bit about yourself. And then if you've never made a bit.ly shortener, that's probably the best way to share it. You're going to make your bit.ly and probably share that like back on this very first page. Okay, and if you need help with making a bit.ly, if you've never made one before, just remember that it's case sensitive. Okay, so if it gives you a capital B, then you have to do they have to do the capital B to get in. You can also make it your own. Like some of you have seen mine where it says bit.ly Brisk 2026 or something like that. So as long as it hasn't been taken by somebody else in the whole wide world, then you can have that one. The way this one is set up, okay, it goes through, here's our agenda, foundation of AI literacy. We're going to talk about the tools, give them hands-on practice, excuse me, talk a little bit about the district AI policies, and then I've got some other AI for them to look at. You may not get to all this. That's okay if you don't. If you do get to all of it, then in that extra time in the end, you're just going to give them time to explore, okay? Right here, when you go through this part right here, I do feel like this is important because we want them to understand, like especially check for bias and accuracy. AI, even though we've had it for a couple of years now, it still hallucinates. It still gives the wrong, the wrong answers and the wrong information or cites a source that doesn't exist. And over here on the side, if you want to click on that link at some point and look at it, it just kind of breaks this down a little bit. Like when you say use the 80-20 rule, let the AI do the heavy lifting, and then you're going to, that's where your expertise comes in with the 20%. That's the magic sauce that you as a teacher get to put your spin on it. You never want to copy, paste, publish anything as a teacher or as a student. So what I'm going to do now, you guys, well, hang on one more second. On the way this one is set up, it goes through and gives you a tool, and it gives you, well, let me go back here. Sorry. My computer's really slow. It gives you a tool, the way this slideshow is set up, gives you a tool and how to use it. And then I was going to let them practice and then inspect the writing, how do you, what it looks like, and then let them practice. You can do it that way if you want to rearrange the slides on the other one. What I ended up doing with that, after just looking at it, I thought maybe it would be easier this way. Just go through and hit the highlights because they've already been through Brisk Boost. You have to remember that, which is good because they're familiar with these tools. Most of them should be anyway. Just to go through and hit the highlights again, and then go through and demonstrate and let them practice. So what I'm going to do is flip over to this other, oh wait, let me go down here. On slide 23, this Google Teacher Translate, I don't know if you've ever heard of Gary Brooks. If you want to add this slide, you can copy this slide. I didn't put it in the participant slide in case if you want to put it in there, then that's fine. It's just a funny video about Google Teacher Translate. And I put that with the translate part. And then you've got the let's try part. At the very bottom, I'm going to go back to that, I promise. Right here, we've got the Bentonville Schools AI. I want you to give them 5 or 6 minutes to look over these, our AI guide and policy and our webpage. And then, let them go look over it for like 5 or 6 minutes, and then maybe share something with their neighbor that they learned. If you have time to discuss it, you can. If they have questions about it and you don't know the answer, that's fine. You just have them email me. That's totally fine. Or email Aaron. This all came from our committee that we had, our AI committee. So that's all the policies that we ended up with. And then this chart right here, and this is the one that we want teachers once you guys go through this training, this is something that we would suggest that they put in Google Classroom as a material. And every time there is an assignment, they know which level it is, because we have parents saying, well, we didn't know, they didn't know they couldn't use AI on this. So if you say, okay, on this, it's a level 3, on this, it's a level 4. The only thing that we need to go back and add, and I'll probably change some of this before March the 20th. The third one over here, I noticed this just today. It doesn't say anything about the sources being cited. And I think that needs to be in all 4 of these. Okay, even though it's not in the first one because you don't get to have any AI assistance, but in these, I definitely think we need to have must be cited, must be cited. Do you guys agree with that? I don't know why it got left out on that one, but it did. But I will get that fixed. And like I said, that's one you can print off if you want to. But I do think it would be good, maybe starting next school year, if they add this just as a material, and they've got those materials pinned at the top of their Google Classroom, to go ahead and, have the conversation when you have an assignment, this is the level that you get to use. Okay, questions about this chart? Everybody good? And then, of course, we have Brisk Bites. This is the link to the Brisk playlist that they have. If you have time to go through and watch some of these, maybe the ones that you're not too sure about, they're just like 4 and 5 minutes long. That would be great for you to go through and look at those. Brisk also just released a Kahoot. So now you can say, create me a quiz, and you can say, create a Kahoot. So then it'll have you go in and sign in with Kahoot. That's brand new. They just, like 2 weeks ago, they just released that. Toward the end, I would like you guys to share this ChatGPT for Teachers. they can get a free account through June 2027. So we have a lot of teachers that will pay, because here's like the chart, they'll pay the $20 a month to have the Chat GPT Plus, but they have decided to um, throw the hook out there, because you know what's going to happen. Everybody's going to, in 2027, everybody's going to start paying their $20 a month to get the real thing, because they're going to like it so much. I have a feeling, maybe not, but that's the link to get verified, so they can click on that link. There's also 100 teacher prompts that they can use for Chat GPT or any AI. It just gives you some suggestions, and you can go through and look at that. The main reason between having your personal Chat GPT and the school one being verified is that it's not going to train on your data that you're putting in here on your school one. Okay. And what it will look like, you'll have go to Chat GPT. I can click between my personal one and my school one. So I can click back and forth, and you get the latest greatest in your school one, as opposed to the personal one. And then of course we've got Gemini. Gemini is probably one of my go-tos right now. I probably use that more than Chat GPT. I don't know why. People just kind of get used to one thing and they go to it, but that is included in our workspace that we have. So it's just, I don't know. I'm a Gemini fan. Anybody else a Gemini fan out there? A few of you. And then Notebook LM. Let's talk about this for a second. Have you guys heard of Notebook LM before? Most of you have. It's pretty amazing. So on that, there's the link to it, and you don't have to go into this. And if you don't know Notebook LM, play with it a little bit. I don't expect you to teach them this, just for them to have it. There's a video on it that's like 7 minutes. You don't have to show that. We're just kind of hitting the highlights, because 2 hours isn't a long, I mean, it's a long time, but not a very long time to go through each one of these. But you can go through and let them, in their own time, if they've never looked at Notebook LM before. If you want to, I always like to show what the podcast looks like, because it blows everybody's mind, because it will create a podcast from the resources that you upload, because it's pulling from your own resources. And the cool thing about the podcast is you can make it interactive. So while it's doing the podcast, you can stop and say, well, I don't understand this. You can actually talk to it, and it'll say, okay, let's look at that. And it kind of blows your mind. When people see that, it's like, whoa, that's kind of futuristic for sure. I like this one because on Brisk, they'll make you a beautiful infographic. And I asked them to make me one on Brisk. And you always have to double check everything, and look right here. It even does photos of student work. So I know that's tiny, but you have to go back because it seems like on a lot of these infographics, there's always like one or two misspelled words. You could have it do it again, but I was like looking, I'm like, this looks really good. But we've got the photos over there. And then we have Magic School. If you have time for the elementary, for those of you that are elementary, if you want to spend a little more time on this, that's fine, because I think elementary is going to use the Create version probably, and maybe the Brisk next, and changing the level for the Brisk part. But I see them using Magic School just a little bit more. I did a presentation for some novice teachers the other day in elementary, and they were all using Magic School. They really liked it. I still want you to use Brisk. That's what we're paying for. But if you like the Magic School free version, and the free version is pretty robust too. Okay, so now I am going to flip over to, so this is what you're actually going to share, the Brisk training spring 2026 for teachers. This is the one you're going to be putting up on the whiteboard or whatever, on the projector when you guys are presenting to them. Okay. And then you're going to do the Meet Your Trainers. That's where you're going to put your bit.ly right down there. So at the beginning, they can go through and they can get your presentation. It looks very similar to the other one that we just had. Once again, there's that Brisk Boost practice. If you want to leave it at the beginning, that's fine. I'm going to leave it there for right now. And then you can decide if you want to leave it there at the beginning, or when you get down to Brisk Boost, just drag it down there. Okay. I'm okay with you making this a look, your own. I want you to like say, because most of these, the English teachers are going to be, I mean, my English um, for the high school, the English trainers are English teachers. So they know their audience. Math, we've got math and everything. So you can tell your own personal story, some of the things that you've done with Brisk and how it's helped you and all that kind of stuff. When we had the training the other day, I've got some feedback. I'm like, holy cow, they're doing, you guys are doing great things I don't even know about, and I love it. But you can move that wherever you want to. Then there's that AI best practice. On this, you can just you don't have to read it. We don't read slides to it, but you can just go through and just hit the highlights for them. Because we talk about, instead of digital literacy, we still do digital literacy with digital citizenship and everything, but now we're trying to include AI literacy for teachers and for students. What is Brisk? You guys, that's going to be an easy one. One thing they might not know is that you can click this little paperclip right here and upload your own pictures, PDFs, whatever that you have from your Google Drive. And like somebody took a picture of this anchor chart and then they pulled it in, and then you can make a quiz about the anchor chart if you wanted to, or a vocabulary list for the anchor chart. And then you've got your, man, this thing's slow, sorry. Okay, so for this one, the 6 main ways, I'm going to go ahead and click the slideshow because I want you guys to see what it looks like. So when I click on that, this is the create part. When I click again, there's going to be a video, and you can see it's only 13 seconds. Can you guys see my whole screen, or is this, there we go. And it's just kind of going through, just showing you exactly how to get there. And it's going to do that for each one. So you know that. And then next we've got giving feedback. They can do the grow and the glow, the targeted, the rubric. And I like this. There's no sound on that. It's just doing a demonstration, just to do a quick demonstration. And then batch feedback for the whole class. For those of you that are junior high and high school teachers, if you've not done the batch feedback, we did that Tuesday with one of the English teachers from the high school. It was pretty cool. It graded, I think she had like 65 essays in about 3 minutes. And then, of course, you go back and give your own spin on it as well. There's the inspect the writing button where you can go through, and it creates the video. And also right here, if you click that, that's going to detect the AI, how much AI supposedly has been used on a specific paper. Adapt and translate. This is where you can change the level. And a lot of times we have, 10th graders that are on a 4th grade reading level. So they're going to keep the content. It's just going to create a new Google Doc. You just want to make sure you change the title of it before you give it to students. The podcast generator, I really like Notebook LM podcast better than this one, but they do have the podcast generator on here. It's under that create part. And remember, Brisk is going to use whatever it's floating on, because Brisk is, it's floating on top as an extension. So whatever is underneath it, that's the resource it's going to use to make its material from. And then Brisk sources, this one's fairly new. So right here, it says include sources. You can always add the sources if you want. And it's not a bad idea to include the sources. Then you can always go back and look at the same place if you need more information. And then this is where Brisk Boost comes in. I'm going to pause that for just a second. I'm going to bring you guys back up here so I can see you. Let's talk about Brisk Boost for just a second. What what are your thoughts on that? How's it going? Are you using it in your classroom? Anybody want to volunteer?
I will.
Okay.
Um, so I that's my favorite part of Brisk is the boost. And I've been trying to do different ones. I love the tutoring piece. My sixth graders love the tutoring piece. Some of the things they've said whenever we did it to help us with our writing was it asked me questions that I would not have asked myself. Um, and then I ended up getting a whole lot more writing out of my kids, especially my kids that struggle. So I'm a huge Boost fan.
And that's the kind of story I want you to tell to them. Okay. And you can even ask them what are they using Boost for? Because so many, like they've got the tutor. Some of them like doing just like a character chat or chatting with a historic figure, that kind of thing. Every subject is going to be different and great as well. If you haven't experienced the Brisk Boost yet, if you can do that in the next couple of weeks, please try. If you need help with that, I don't mind if I can to stop by and try to show you exactly how that works. Um, Once you've done it a couple of times, it's pretty cool. The neat thing is you've got that dashboard that you can go back and look at and see who's meeting the objectives. And kids can also see if they're meeting the objective. My favorite part, and definitely when you get to the Brisk Boost part, let me go back here. You can go through and, talk about what it does in case they're not sure. But the best thing I like about it is it does puts those guardrails on there for you. And we're going to go back to that in just a second. But you also have the Boost Learning Insights. So that's what they're talking about. There's your dashboard. So here's the person, Emma Rodriguez, think is what it says, is in progress. She's met two of the four objectives, and it's all transparent. So when you click on her name, everything that the conversation she's been having is going to go over here. The insights part is going to say, we've looked at all of your stuff, and this is what this is the strengths that they have on this part. This is the help they need. This is where they need help as a whole, not just one at a time. I mean, you're going to be able to look at it individually, but this way you can look at it all together, which I know, and that way you're like, okay, what am I going to do next? And that's kind of where the next steps part comes in. And that's what that Brisk Next is. And it explains Brisk Next a little bit. And Brisk Bundles, the same thing there. You can just go through, and once you get to Brisk Next, have you seen how to get to the Brisk Next part where you click on the house? You guys know what I'm talking about? Okay, let me pull it up. Let me get my Brisk B. Can you guys see my Brisk B? Is it showing? Okay. So right here, you see the house? That's where it says find next recommendations. When you click that, that's going to take you to their Brisk website. Okay, the app.briskteaching.com. All right, that's where it says, what are you teaching next? You can go through, add your standards or whatever, click your next ideas, and then you can have a conversation over here on the right. If you click on My Library, over here on the left, that's where you're going to see like activities. These are like the assignments that I've created. So if I go back, I went to West one day and did some stuff with a class. And you can see that's where they've met the objective or haven't met it. And it shows over here what the insights were. The nice thing, so when I click on one of these, I can click on the eyeball and it's going to show me the conversation they had. And you can explain this to all your participants. This is one of the main reasons we wanted this. It gives you total transparency. What Brisk said, what the person said, what Brisk said, And I even told them, hey, I want you guys to get off topic. These were future teachers that I was teaching that day. And so you can see, look at the exclamation point right there, because she asked, where did you buy your first toothbrush? And then he says, that question is off topic. Let's focus on my story choices and motivations in the Hunger Games. Would you like to ask me about my relationship with PETA or my role in the rebellion? So it's going to guide them back and get them back, to focus on what they need to. And there are the learning objectives over there on the side. Questions about that dashboard, you guys? When I go back to that, give it a second. Sorry. Let's see. I'm going to go back to my next ideas. Once again, if you have a standard there that you want to copy and paste, you can do that. You can even attach something there if you want. But what it's going to do is start giving you, what if I just say volcanoes? That's all I'm going to put. Okay, Noelle, let me see. You just said something. Let me look.
I was just saying that it is fun on the Brisk Boost to test the limits and see when it like redirects you. And I had a student today who was playing with the languages, and he like tried several different languages, and it was like, hey, you're trying too many languages. Let's get back on. Like, get redirected him and pulled him back. So
yeah, that's a good idea. I like and let them play with it for a little bit. It's going to be new to them, so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's kind of like when they first got their Chromebooks or they first got their iPads when we did that back in the day. Let me get back to my Brisk next. So all I did was say volcanoes, and it just says you would never just put volcanoes in there. You would put, fourth grade or whatever you're working on. I've created some recommendations, but right here, there's my chat bot right there. So I can ask for more things. And if you go back over here, you can see it's given me some lecture slides, a podcast and a transcript to go with the podcast. These would be your boost activities where it says engage. There's also a new whiteboard that's brand new. The only thing is, I think it's hard for kids to use a trackpad like with math. Lynn, what do you think? Or can they use a trackpad with their Chromebooks? That just seems difficult to me.
Yeah, seems difficult.
Yeah. But if you were in kindergarten and you had, they've got touchscreen Chromebooks, that would be different. So this is giving me engage, and I can even click generate more. I can keep going if I want to. And then there's some quizzes. But what this does, you guys, right here, if I say add to the bundle, you can see right up here, it's adding to it says, there's your bundle. So maybe I like that thing. I like this one. I can click create, or I can go back to look at it to see what it looks like. I'm not going to do that right now. And I'm going to say add that to my bundle. But once you click the create, you've got what you want in your bundle. There's a Brisk bundle folder that's already created in your Google Drive, and it's going to throw that automatically in your Google Drive, kind of like when we used to do Screencastify videos. When you saved it, it would automatically throw it into the Screencastify folder in your Google Drive. Same thing with the Brisk bundle. And if you don't get to that, that's okay too. Okay, it's like, get to what you can, explain what you can, and then, because we'll have training again next fall. I just want them to be in, the ones that are going on April 27th, that's toward the end of, the school year, but we still want them to be familiar with what Brisk is all about. Okay, Holly said, my kids love the whiteboard, but there is a learning curve. Having them use type, insert shapes. Oh, okay. So you've let them play with it a little bit. Cool. I wonder, I don't know with that whiteboard, if you could, I haven't played with it that much, if you could pull in a PDF and let them write on that PDF. Do you know if that's possible, or you just get a blank whiteboard? Have you tried that, Holly?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
We did information, and then it asked them like the 3 standards, and they drew their answers. What was really cool though, that shocked the kids, is they could draw a picture using their mouse pad, and AI would read it and
It
translate
will
Give
evaluate it for them. You
feedback
can
on their
say,
drawing.
yeah, you can
They
say
were
check.
shocked.
Yeah, and it will check it. The first time I did that, I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy, but it does even with their drawing. And I'm assuming with the math problem, it would do the same thing. I don't know that. I haven't played with it that much. So, okay, let me get back here. I'll get this out of the way. Sorry. Okay, so once you go through like just the introducing of each one, then that's where we've got the let's try. So we've got the create part, and you can go through and have them create certain things. Let me get this out of the way. And then you've got the create anything, and I think I gave you a list of the create anything prompts. So do you guys see what I'm saying? Like you can explain it and then let them practice it, or you can explain all of it and then let them practice all of it. And you can practice a little bit at a time with them. It's up to you. So you can rearrange these slides on this, whatever, because everybody teaches different. So whatever you think is best for your people, then that's the way. If you want to drag this back up, to the feedback part where it talks about feedback with a little video, and then you want to go ahead and give feedback right then, that's fine too. Okay. But you could, just spend maybe 1 or 2 minutes saying, okay, open a Google Doc, don't say Word doc, but a Google Doc or a YouTube video. I don't know why it says student created YouTube video. That's confusing. And click give feedback. With one thing to note is that the targeted feedback, that's what we pay for with our subscription. If you do batch feedback, it's only going to do grows and glows. Okay. So, and with any kind of feedback, it's not going to put it in there until you say insert. So glows and grows are going to go up as a table. So if you say you've got a 2-page essay, once you do the glows and grows, it's going to throw it at a table at the very top. It's going to insert a new page at the very top of the essay. If you do the targeted feedback, it's going to come up in the comments on the right-hand side, and then you can go through and read it, change it, insert, however you want. I had an English teacher the other day that she says, she was AP English, she uses the targeted feedback when kids first turn in their essays. She lets AI grade it, and then she gives it back to them before she even looks at it. Then she grades it. And then she goes back and kind of compares what AI said. It just kind of gives it, an extra layer of feedback. But she also tells those kids, just because AI says you did it right, doesn't mean that I'm going to think you're doing it right. So just so they know that. And she said there was one that AI was raving on what a great job. And she said, and they got a C on it and she said, I explained, well, they were like, but AI said this, well, look at, and she compared something that whatever they were talking about. So, but I thought I had never thought about that. And that's one thing we don't want teachers to do is just put it in there and actually let it spit it back out and give it to the kids and you never look at it again. I don't think that's going to happen, but hopefully, that won't happen. Yes, Holly.
It'll also say things are wrong if the information isn't directly in that source. So it doesn't know what you've talked about in class. So if it's not in that specific source, it calls it wrong. So it goes both ways.
Correct, it does. And I've also seen it say in the second paragraph in your sentence, and it's got that in quotations, where you put this, you needed to do this, and that sentence isn't even there in the second paragraph. So as a teacher, like it's not 100%. Like I said, it's just going to give you that extra layer. I always just like to, with my college kids, grade it. Then I go through and let Brisk do its thing. And I'm like, oh, I like, they said it better than that, than what I was going to say. And it's a mixture. The feedback is a mixture of Brisk and of what I've already gotten. And there have been times when I let Brisk do it first, and then I go back through and go, yeah, I agree with that. No, I don't agree with that, and change it. I don't think I've ever given a paper back where it was just feedback from Brisk and pass it on. I think teachers were too much of a control freak for us to just, to do it that way. Let's see. There's that batch feedback. But you guys can go through. Man, this thing's slow. Hang on just a second. There's the change level and translate to practice the translation, inspect the writing. So it tells you exactly what to do on each one of these. You can, and if you want to say, okay, you're going to work on slide 33, 34, 35 right now for 5 minutes, and we're going to come back together. You guys decide whatever works best for you. Just, after about an hour and a half into it, if you can get down here to the bottom where you give them, because I really want them to have like 5 minutes to, 5 to 10 minutes to look over these policies, just so they know that they're there. And the chat GPT information, if they want to go ahead, tell them. A lot of the other day, they were like, oh, they just went to chat GPT and they were trying to do it that way, but you really need this link. And I don't know where I ended up getting this link, but I got it from somewhere, but that link does work to get you verified. And I think they just took a picture of like their badge, because you have to prove that you're a teacher. And I don't even know if I took a picture of my badge. I think it was just my teacher email address. I don't remember, but it's been a while since I did that. And then once again, you've got, if you're a big Gemini fan, or you're a big Notebook LM fan, and you want to show them some things on Notebook, some people, like once they see Notebook LM, they can't give it. They're like, this is the best thing since sliced bread. So if you want, if you want to go a little more into that, if you think your audience wants that, then feel free to do that. Okay. Magic School, just a little bit of information about that. High school teachers, if you want to take those Magic School slides out, you can. It's up to you. K4, I would leave those in there for sure. Okay, and these are just resources at the end, and definitely you want to show them, like for next steps, that there's that Brisk Bites playlist. Okay, and then you can always put your presentation link back at the bottom. Okay, that was a lot of information just then. I'm going to stop sharing and let's talk for a second. Okay, so thoughts so far. What do you guys think? I can't see any faces, so I don't know. I can't read the room. I see Lindsay, I see Lynn, I see Holly. There we go. There's Noelle. Noelle, how many years have you been teaching now?
I don't know. 21.
I remember your first year. I was thinking about that the
know.
other day. I was like, she was just a baby, and now, I was thinking more 15,
No, I'm
but
not.
it's been
I'm
20.
still a
Yeah.
baby.
You're still a baby. You'll always be a baby in my head. That's right. That's right. I was the youngest at Apple Glen when I started 100 years ago. Yeah. Okay. Questions, guys? Concerns? What are your thoughts on the presentation? Any feedback on the presentation that you're like, oh my, is anybody scared, wants to back out or anything? What are your thoughts on this? Everybody good? Yeah.
I just had an idea, Carrie, and you can tell me what you think about this. I was just thinking I may send a really quick Google form to my campus before I go, because it's one of the schools I work at, so I know the staff, and ask them, because you were mentioning maybe Notebook LM is something you could spend some time on, or maybe specific features of Brisk to spend a little more time on. And I may ask them what they're interested in, just so that I can tailor what I'm doing in terms of how much time to spend on each area. Is there anything that you would like say, I guess, do you have any suggestions on what I could or should include in that if I'm going to ask for feedback before we have the session?
Like, what questions would you ask them? Is that what you're saying?
I just mean, I guess I'm saying, what do you think about me doing that? Is that okay?
I think that's fine, especially with elementary, because we have to remember with elementary, they don't get to touch a Chromebook very often. They've got like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So elementary, you may not spend a lot of time on Brisk Boost, because third and fourth grade might want that, so you can decide however you want, yeah, I don't mind you do that. I just make sure you like that bottom part of that slideshow where it shows about like Chat GPT and some of those resources. And have them look at the privacy policy, because we want to make sure every teacher knows, and that's coming straight from our technology website. And we have parents all the time saying, hey, do you guys have a privacy policy yet? And for when it comes to AI, yep, we do. And here it is. So I want them to be able to go through and just see, the kind of the guidance that we have, because in that it says that kids should never use AI for 100% of their work, and teachers should never use AI to grade 100% of their work. It says that in a roundabout way. So I just want to make sure that they're aware of that. But yes, I'm fine with you guys tweaking it, as long as we try to. I mean, if you do decide not to add something, leave it in the slide. That way they'll have it and just say, we're not going to go over that right now, but just leave it in there if you don't mind. And that way, and if you want to give them more time to work on, something specific, I'm fine with that. I just appreciate you guys helping me with this so much, because I think it's going to be so much better having a real person in front of them, as opposed to me or somebody else doing a video and making them watch it and trying to do it on their own. I think it's better when when we have real people involved. Anything else? You guys I had 4 people on Tuesday, and we stayed like an hour and a half with all the questions, but maybe I got all the bugs worked out. So I kind of got it figured out. I don't know. So I thank you, whoever, Ashton, for creating it for you. That's what I don't want you guys to have to go to do a bunch of extra on your own. I know I'm asking a lot of you, and especially with we've got testing season going on and everything. So I appreciate you volunteering, to do this and just kind of following the guidelines. The more you practice, the better pro you're going to be. If they have questions that you can't answer during it, that's going to happen. Just say, hey, I'm not sure about that, but we can ask Carrie, or we can ask Gemini, see what Gemini says. Sometimes Gemini knows it all as well. So, but you can feel free. Like I said, I still have a few more openings left. I'm planning on teaching some of those. It would be nice if I didn't have to, so I could be answering questions if people were emailing, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. If it doesn't, that's okay. I don't mind teaching it. But you just make this your own, however you guys think. And if you have questions between now and the time you're going to present, or if something happens and you can't, we've already had some things come up, that's okay. We'll get it covered. I'll figure it out some way. We'll make sure everybody gets trained like Dr. Jones asked. She didn't want us to give them something and then just, step back and never look at it again. Okay. And did everybody that's on here, did you guys sign up in CALPA? Because I want to make sure you get credit. And I can't, I might be able to add you. I don't know. But the CALPA number's on there. You can still sign up today, and you'll get an hour credit for today. And if you're here and you didn't sign up, I think I might be able to push it to you. So any other questions, comments?
Is this recording going to be put in the folder that you shared with us?
I'll watch it, and if I don't look like an idiot, yes. Yeah, I'll put it in there. I didn't explain a whole lot. So if there's something, Lynn, with you, I begged you at the last minute. So if you need extra help on something or want to look over something with me, you just let me know and we can meet for a little bit, and I can explain some things to you. I don't mind.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. The numbers in the calendar, in the Google Calendar invite, the CALPA number. So, all right. Thank you guys. I appreciate everything. I can't explain. If I wish I could go buy gift cards or do something big for you, but I might still. I don't know if I can. I appreciate you helping me with this. It's huge undertaking. So, all right. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay. All right, guys. Have a good day. See you later.